How would some more great leads sound to you right about now? Now, if you're like most salespeople, you're saying, of course, Mark, yes, please, I want more leads. In fact, most sales problems become irrelevant when we're just swimming in strong new leads. But we can't expect this to just happen. In fact, my data suggests that over 90% of salespeople really desperately need more leads than they currently have right now. And it blows my mind that more salespeople don't have this issue figured out. In fact, more data shows that the number one concern that salespeople have is getting more leads, is prospecting. And ultimately, the solution can be very easy, quite frankly. And it simply takes a multi-pronged approach of a few different strategies that work for you all in conjunction at the same time. So in this video, I'm going to show you 7 easy tips to fill your sales funnel to the brim. Check it out. Number 1, stop cold calling. Yes, I said it, stop cold calling. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, I can't wait to show this to my boss who's always trying to get us to make more cold calls. Be clear, I did not say to stop making prospecting calls, I said to stop cold calling. The idea of simply picking up the phone and calling on a prospect who has no idea who you are, has never heard of you, is probably really busy, doesn't care about what it is you're offering. To pick up the phone and call that person out of the blue is like the equivalent of pretty much banging your head against a cement wall. Now, the reason for that is because when we call on someone who has no idea who we are, we're really just putting ourselves into a situation where we're starting from a disadvantage, and we didn't have to. What we really need to do is to call as part of a prospecting campaign. And so a prospecting campaign means no more cold calls. But what it does mean is that we're going to call in conjunction with other marketing assets that are going out to a prospect at the same time, from us, but going to them. So that means that we are not going to randomly make calls to people, but instead we're going to send them an email with a high value asset, something like an ebook or a guide or something that is a high value piece of content that you can send to them and make sure it gets in front of their face before you pick up the phone. And so you're going to do that multiple steps in a row to make sure that even when you're not getting through to them on the phone, they're still getting those emails, they're getting those LinkedIn messages, they're getting maybe a package that you actually sent to them. And so ultimately, by the time you truly get them on the phone, they're actually going to know who you are, or at least they're going to have an idea because you're going to reference one of, let's say, the packages that you sent out or one of the guides that you sent along to them. And they're going to say, oh yeah, I do remember getting that. When you're doing that, now you're starting to build these little steps that are creating a little bit more of a relationship. So that way you're really making more of a warm call as opposed to a cold call. Stop cold calling. Number 2, ask for introductions. Now, what's an introduction? Well, what is an introduction not? An introduction is not a referral. Stop asking for referrals, because when you ask your clients or your prospects for referrals, they typically don't know what you're talking about. Because a referral can mean a lot of different things. A referral can mean that your prospect gives you someone's business card and says, oh yeah, give this person a call and tell them I sent you, right? That use my name referral. But we don't want that. In fact, the data suggests that a use my name referral is only a little bit stronger than a true cold call. So what we want to be doing is getting introductions, where person A introduces us to person B. When we get introductions, the data shows that the close ratio on a well set up introduction can sometimes be as good as 50%. That's insane. If I told you that you could get all 50% likelihood of closed leads, you'd be saying, what do I have to do to get this? Well, the answer is start asking for introductions, where you're simply having conversations with your clients and you're asking them, would you be willing to introduce me to so-and-so? Or would you be willing to introduce me to other folks just like yourself who you think that we also might be able to help? When you're asking for those introductions, not everyone's going to give you introductions, but the people that are willing to are now going to be willing to either pick up the phone or send an email to that person, making sure that that person's willing to take your call, is willing to talk to you. ask for introductions. Number 3, quarterly business reviews. Now, this, of course, is for folks who are selling in the business-to-business space. But, of course, you could also do this if you're selling to consumers. Your clients and customers are consumers. You can still be having these quarterly meetings with customers, right? It doesn't have to be a business review. But let's just say you are selling to other companies and your existing clients who could be a much bigger source of business than they are currently are able to now sit down with you on a quarterly basis. And you're giving a name, you're giving a title to this. So you call up your clients. Let's say you have 20 really good clients. So you're calling on each of those clients and you're saying, George, Mark Wayshack calling. I wanted to schedule our quarterly business review where we're going to share with you some of the best practices that we're seeing outside of your industry and making sure that you can really leverage all of the information and ideas that we have. Would that make some sense? And typically your clients, if they trust you, if they love you, they're going to say, of course. And now what you're doing is on a quarterly basis, you're creating a cadence to making sure that you're meeting with your clients on a quarterly basis, getting in front of them. And of course, not just pitching them your new products or services, but really making sure that you're providing good value and then asking questions, taking them right into the sales process by finding out what are their biggest concerns, what are their biggest challenges that they're facing right now, what are they most focused on for this year? Those types of things that are then going to create far more opportunities to sell more deeply to your clients. Number 4, private events. I personally love private events. For my own business, I use private events all the time to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in business every single year. And what I do is I use private events to just invite really high potential prospects and mix them in with some of my existing top clients and get them into a room together. And then I provide huge value to them in that room. You can do this exact same thing at your own private events where you invite really high potential clients and combine that with some of your top clients and then provide some content. So let's say you're a marketing company. You can provide content, or you could be the speaker, or you could have a special speaker who's going to talk about the 5 must-know ideas for marketing in today's new economy, or whatever it is. And what you're doing is making sure that you're getting your clients and your prospects into the same room, and you're doing it in a really exclusive environment. Maybe have it at the Ritz or some nice hotel. You could, of course, do it at your office, but I tend to find that the more exclusive feeling this is, the more people really want to be a part of it. And get them all together, get them talking, and you don't even have to sell hard, right? You're just getting people together. And then, of course, at the end, you are saying, hey, I'm available to set up meetings if you'd like, but that's it. Private events are such a powerful way to get more people in front of you in a way that really lowers their guard, and high-level prospects are going to be willing to come because it just feels exclusive. Number 5, nurture, nurture, nurture. There's a really old school idea that we need to just hammer our prospects. And if they're not willing to buy, we need to convince them as to why they need to buy. But in today's world, my data shows that at least 50 or so % of your prospects are not going to be a good fit for you right now. But that doesn't mean that they're never going to be a good fit. It means that right at this particular point, they're not a good fit. So we disqualify them for trying to have a conversation with them. But what we want to do is keep them into our nurture campaign. And so every company should have some way to nurture prospects who might not be a fit today, but are maybe going to be a fit down the road. And so that means having this group of people where you're sending them content on a regular basis. It might be emails, it might be packages with books or whatever information that you can send them that is valuable content that you can use to nurture that relationship. So even if they're not willing, or maybe it doesn't make sense to do business with you today, 6 months or a year from now, you've got these people, they know you by your first name, and they're willing to pick up your call when you go to call them down the road. Nurture, nurture, nurture. Number 6, pick one place to network deeply. Now, we've all been told our whole lives that we need to network, network, network. But Networking can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. What I find is that the most effective networkers are really good at networking very deeply in one or two key places. And so first, the first idea is that we need to decide where we want to network. The number one rule should be that you're only networking where your prospects and your customers currently are today. I'm talking about the decision makers of your client and customer companies. Where are they actually networking? And so once you know where you want to be networking, go really deeply in those one or two groups. So don't cast a really wide net necessarily. Focus really deeply on those one or two groups. Get involved. Become a member of their committee or their board, right? Start to develop relationships in those groups. And ideally, it's just one or two places. And what you're going to find is that you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck by going deeply in one or two places as opposed to just going to any networking event that's available to you. Because when you just go to a networking event, it's basically just cold calling face to face if you have no relationship with anyone there. But once you start to build those relationships with those people who could be buyers, it can just be an absolute flood of new leads coming into your pipeline. Pick one place to network deeply. Number 7, get face-to-face with your best opportunities. Now, this goes counter to where a lot of sales organizations are going today, where what I've noticed is that the trend has been towards avoiding face-to-face meetings because they're cumbersome, they're time-consuming, they involve travel. I don't disagree with all of that. I think that in some cases it can be far more efficient to not get face-to-face with those smaller opportunities. But if you're in the business of selling to big companies, you're selling big sales, big opportunities to big companies, getting face-to-face with those opportunities is going to make a huge difference on your close ratio. It's the difference between closing 20% of opportunities and closing 50% in a lot of cases. Get face-to-face with your best opportunities. That means, yes, getting onto a plane. That means, yes, getting in the car and getting face-to-face. Now, you don't have to get face-to-face with all of your opportunities. If it's a little baby opportunity, it's fine. Use that WebEx, use that GoToMeeting. But if it's a really good opportunity, get your ass onto a plane and get face-to-face with them. What you're going to find is that you're going to close a lot more of those best opportunities. And yeah, is it going to take a little more time? Sure, but it's so worth it in terms of the increased likelihood of truly closing that deal. Get face-to-face with your best opportunities. So there are 7 easy tips to fill your sales funnel to the brim. I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section to get involved in the conversation. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have an awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking right here, my little face, to get access to a new video just like this one each and every week.